What is it like being a Jamaican in Gabon? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Peta-Gay Sambouni, a Jamaican living in Gabon. Welcome, Peta-Gay. How are you?
I'm doing good, Xavier. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, did I say the name of the country correct? Because sometimes I'm
Yes,
hearing that I'm not saying it right.
yes, it's correct. Gabon, yes.
All right, because I know some of these countries have a little accent thing that happens, and it kind of changes up how we say it in English and how they say it in the country itself. You
No,
know.
it's correct.
All right. So, which part of Jamaica you come from?
I'm from Kingston, to be specific, the Mona area, Shenstone Drive, Beverly Hills, and that's where I grew up.
Okay. So
Yes.
you're close to me, my school, which is up there, on Hope Road, Jamaica College.
Yes.
So when I spoke before, which school you representing?
St. Andrew High, of course.
My sister.
Like London.
So tell us the story. How you got to Gabon.
Well, I'm in the aviation industry, and a friend of mine, he was flying for a company in Nigeria, and he heard about a job opening in Gabon. And he called me while I was working in Antigua, telling me that there's this job opening in Gabon if I'd be interested. So I said, Gabon? What is Gabon? Where is Gabon? He said, in Africa. I was like, no way, that's too far. And he was like, but it's a good opportunity. I said, no. And he said, okay. So I stayed where I was. 1 year later, the company I was working for was closing down. So I called him and I asked him if the opportunity is still available. He said 1 year later, Peta-Gay really expected to be open. He said, anyway, I'll check it out. And it was still available. And I just locked
Wow.
my eye and went. And let
Wow.
me tell you, I had no regrets, none whatsoever.
Wow. So I mean I'm seeing the aviation, the pictures there. Do you are you technical, or when you hear aviation, do you actually have a pilot's license also? I don't know. I'm just
Yes,
asking, just curious.
I'm a pilot here
Oh,
in Gabon, yes.
oh, awesome. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the people of Gabon.
The people are very strong in their culture and their beliefs, spiritual beliefs, of course, superstition as well. They're quite friendly. Once you get close to them, once they realize that you're not a threat, they tend to be very friendly and very open. They tend to like when you try to get familiar with the way they do things. For example, their national language is French. So me not knowing French, coming there, just trying the language, just trying to adapt to the language, it makes them feel like you want to be a part of them. So of course that makes them happy. So they're quite welcoming in that way, you know.
Nice, nice, nice. Have you come upon any customs that, you kind of mentioned some of the, religious, spiritual stuff, but any customs that you found very interesting? Maybe it's, the marriage ceremony, maybe it's things that you have to do. I think I've spoken to people where you have to bring something and give something before you take the hand in marriage of someone or whatever. So any customs you found interesting?
Actually, yes, I've found it interesting that marriages, their ceremony, it's actually three different ceremonies that you have in a marriage, and a wedding can take possibly 3 days. If it takes 2 days, then that's a short wedding. You have the traditional wedding where everyone wears their African clothing. The husband's side or the groom's side wears one particular type of material, while the wife to be, she wears another type, her family wears another type. And then she comes in the type of material that her side of the family wears. And at the end of the ceremony, she changes into an outfit that mixes the two types of material together, which is really beautiful. The whole ceremony has meaning too. It actually is a woman coming from the village and just walking through, and a man finds her. He has to search and ask questions. So it's a whole practice that each wedding has to go through. And you have to be married before sunset, or else
Wow.
everything has to be stopped and you start again the next day.
But 3 days, it sounds like there's some theater, some dramatics, and I love the idea of the merging of the colors because two becomes one and so on. But
Yes,
3 days, this sounds like quite a
yes,
celebration.
yes, it is. It is.
So, did you do that?
I got married in Jamaica
Okay.
because I wasn't sure of what the culture was like and all the practices. So I said, you know what, better stick to what I know. So we got married in Jamaica. We had, well, our wedding really lasted 1 week because we had this ceremony at Huey Chapel. And
Uh-huh.
then we went to Mona Visitors Lodge for the ceremony and the cocktail. And then the day after that, or it was 2 days after that, we went to Portland with our family, an extended family, and close friends. And we basically stayed there, showed them around, and we also had a ceremony where there were exchange of gifts. Not really a dowry, but almost like it's like a dowry. He didn't pay for me as they would say they do here, but it was an exchange of gifts to family and friends, which my family found strange or different, but very interesting.
So, did did what did they think of Jamaica?
Oh,
Your
they
in-laws
love
side.
Jamaica. They love Jamaica. Actually, up to this day, and we've been married for 8 years now, they're still talking about their visit to Jamaica and that they want to return. There was one uncle that we took to Devon House. And after he walked through Devon House, he sat down and he just had to sit and take a breath because he was like, my people went through slavery and this is what they went through. And I mean, he was so emotional about the whole, you know,
Wow.
experience he had.
Wow. As you're saying that, it brings back my feelings. I'm getting some goosebumps here because
Mhm.
when I traveled to Nigeria and then Ghana,
Right.
and just going to the captivity area. I don't even know if I should call it, some say slave castle, but it's a captivity area. And just
Okay.
being there and coming to that end to see where we were shipped off, captured. That to me, I had kind of probably maybe a similar feeling where it's like, I am where my ancestors were shipped from. And so I can probably relate a little bit to what the uncle was feeling.
Okay. Yes.
And you're
Yes.
right there on the west, and you're right there on the west coast of Africa. Also, so
Yes.
I'm sure that history is strong and is there. You know.
Yes.
So I know I asked about how the in-laws felt about Jamaica, but how do the people in Gabon, when they hear you say, I am Jamaican, what are the questions? What do you typically get when you tell people that?
All right, the first thing they say, Bob Marley. I said, Bob Marley died years ago, but yes, we know of Bob Marley. But Bob Marley is more popular outside of Jamaica than he is in Jamaica.
I know that.
He's
I know
celebrated
that.
more outside of Jamaica. So
I know that.
everybody talk about Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, of course, Sean Paul, that's another one. And of course, Usain Bolt. So they asked me if I can run like Usain Bolt. And if I can dance like a Jamaican, I'm like, you know. Yes. And then also, they want you to speak Jamaican. They want to hear you speak patois.
Nice.
That they understand it, but they like it. You
Have
know.
you found any? Because I know along that West Coast, there are words that we use that are, sprinklings and, West African words. Have you found any?
Actually, nyam, nyam, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
a Bantu word which means food. And if you go Bantu tribe, the Bantu tribe is actually not only in Gabon, but you can find them in many different parts of Africa. And if you use the word nyam, everybody understands that you're referring to food.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's nice. That's
yes,
nice. So the language you said is French.
yes.
Um, is there any other native languages that are still present there?
Actually, you have many languages here in Gabon, and based on the proximity of each province, they tend to mix the words. So you might have some words similar to others. So you'll have a group of people that will be able to speak their own language and still understand each other. When you have people from other tribes that they may not be able to understand the other person's language because their proximity is too far from each other. But in terms of the French, everybody here speaks French.
Okay. Is there any push to preserve some of the original native languages?
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. Okay. So, food. What is the food like? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, if there was a food you'd recommend that, Xavier, if you come to Gabon, you got to try this, what would that be? It's a two-part question.
The food. To be honest, all right, there are many different traditional foods here. I am not very fond of Gabonese food, to be honest, but they eat, for example, we in Jamaica, we hear that cassava leaf is poisonous, so you wouldn't eat cassava leaf. But here they eat the leaves, they mix it with saltfish, and it kind of ends up looking like callaloo,
You're
mixed with saltfish. But I'm not a fan of it.
mm,
They do eat that cabbage and saltfish as well, which is a traditional food, and they eat a lot of wild animals. Um, Going
like
to the village, you would find a lot of that. And I mean, these people get excited about the wild animals. You see crocodiles being sold on the road on the way to the village. You'll see snake, even monkeys,
wow,
right?
right.
Yes. The one that I find to be quite tasty is sanglier. Sanglier in English, well, sanglier is a French word. In English, it is boar, so it's a wild pig. So it tastes
Mm,
like pork, and they stew it. They use some different types of seasoning in there, so that's quite tasty because I'm a pork fan.
all right. I eat the Trenton myself, so so the wild boar, and and I've heard wild boar is quite tasty. A lot of people I've heard say wild boar is quite tasty. So
Yes.
it has a different flavor to things. Now, your fruits, are you getting the fruits that you had in Jamaica and the Caribbean? You were in Antigua too. Are you getting any other those type of fruits here?
I'm still hunting them down, to be honest. Actually, the one that I found years ago, right, when I went to this market just outside of the supermarket, I saw the lady with these things. June plum. I was like, oh my God, June plum. Because I get excited about fruits. And she was like, what you talking about? What is it that you want? I was like, I want those. I want those. So she's like, oh, you can have them for free because people don't
What?
really have it as anything important here. I was like, okay, give me everything. She said, well, how are you going to eat it? What are you going to do with it? So I said, you know what? I'm going home and I'm going to stew it and bring back some for you. And I brought back some stewed June plum for her. And she said she loved it. So, I mean, to this day, because I left Gabon 3 years after that, to this day, the lady still remembers me because I gave her stewed June plum.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
That's such a nice story. No, you didn't show her how to cut it and how to peg it kind of.
No, but I mean, you peg with knife. If it's ripe enough, you use your teeth and peg it.
Well, that's true. That is true. Us fancy people is the one
Mhm.
that peg it, and
Right,
because
right.
some will use salt and pepper, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes even the sugar, salt, pepper, and sugar with it.
Yes, yes.
So, in terms of cost of living, what would you say it's like? And if you can use, for example, I don't know if use US dollars or what the currency is, but let's say US dollars or even Jamaican dollars. If you were to go to a restaurant, a medium restaurant, not the high end, and get a meal for two people, what would that be as a measure, kinda, for cost of living?
Um, hmm. Let's say, for example, a medium size meal. Let's say for me and my husband, right? That would probably be about $100 US dollars, a
Mm,
decent meal.
mm.
Yeah. And
So
that
the
would
cost of living
include,
then sounds a little high.
right, it
Yeah.
is here.
Oh man. Oh man. Well,
Mhm.
so what would you say moving there was your biggest adjustment? Because in the story you said, well, I wasn't coming, and then you come, So
Yes,
what was your biggest adjustment?
actually, I'm still learning French. Well, I've never done French in Jamaica. In school, in high school, I did Spanish. I did Spanish, and I never thought of French because I always heard French is difficult and you don't pronounce the words the way you spell them, right? And strange enough, I started learning French, got a French tutor. Eventually, I started using apps online. I went to French school and stuff, or classes and stuff. But the grammar is very difficult to get used to. I can read French now and speak French enough for you to understand, but my grammar isn't perfect.
Okay.
So I'm learning each day. I'm happy when people come with new words. The good thing about it is some complex English words, you can kind of French it up. And I said, that is a word? And they say, yes. Oh, you speak good French. I'm like, oh, thank you.
I was I was going to ask if any of the French there in Gabon has evolved into maybe a mixture of some slangs or some other things that happen. And I know you're not a linguistic expert,
Mm.
but maybe you've heard that some of that has happened there.
When you say slangs, what do you mean exactly?
Like, like, okay, if I go to France, sorry, and
Mhm.
I use a word, they will never have a clue what that word is because it originated in Gabon and the people created their own kind of set of, like, another
Yes,
example is they
the
say,
young people
yes,
have that issue, because where a French teenager, for example, will come to Gabon and he will be speaking with the Gabonese or listening to the Gabonese teenager. He might not be able to pick up on everything that they're saying because they speak in slangs, and these slangs evolve, they change, so often. So even some slangs, they mix the English with the French.
I
So
see.
sometimes they don't even realize that they're speaking English as well because they're just picking up these things from maybe television or the music or whatever, so.
I see. I see. You mentioned music. You hearing any? What's the dominant music there, first of all? And are you hearing any reggae music as you drive by places or out and about?
Yes, I have been to, well, one kind of, I would say beach-like um, restaurant, and they were playing a lot of Jamaican music, as well as there's this restaurant, this Rasta man. He says he visits Jamaica all the time. I mean, he has a pig farm here in Gabon, and
Mm.
so he gives fresh pork and fresh meat. He sells that at his restaurant, and he only plays Jamaican music. You know, I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago as well, and I heard they had a live band, and they played this song by Shaggy. I was like, what? You're My Angel. They were playing,
Right.
and they're waiting because I hear the beat sounding like it's not the old version, it's the Shaggy version. So I'm waiting for the part one now. And he put it in. I was like, I had to turn around and look at him like, really? I was really impressed. I mean, he didn't have the accent perfect,
Right.
but the expression and everything was so good. I was really impressed.
So, where do you get your Jamaican fix? And I'm going back to food. Your Jamaican fix of food now. When you want your jerk or you want your whatever, you mentioned a Rasta man, but is there any Jamaican Caribbean type restaurants or anything, or you have to cook it on your own?
I cook it on my own. Also, I have taught my helper how to cook Jamaican food,
Right.
So she's quite impressed with Jamaican food now as well. My son and my husband, he loves ackee. Now, when my father just died early this year, and
Sorry
he
to hear.
used to send um, a care package of Jamaican food stuff by DHL. I mean, bun. I mean, like 5, 6 buns, plus the tasty cheese, and then tins of ackee and Blue Mountain coffee, the whole works. Twice a year, if not more. And me and my husband, I don't want to say we fight over the food, but so sometimes I say, okay, that's your share. This is mine.
So and I'm trying to remember which interview I had where someone says they're growing ackee, and I'm trying to remember which one. I have to go back and get that information to you. But right there in on the continent of Africa, there's ackee trees. There are people growing ackee. You
Can
know,
I tell you?
yeah.
You mentioned Aki. I went to Ivory Coast a few months ago. It was last year, late last year, and I heard that they have Aki there. We don't have Aki in Gabon, eh? So I heard that they have Aki there. So I was going to everybody asking them, you know this fruit, because I hear it's popular here. They said no. And I went to one man that works with the company, one of the bases that we have here. So I asked him if he knows this fruit. He said, yes, but it's in my village, way away from town here. So I said, please, if you can get me even a little plant. And he said, okay, I'll try. And he gave me 3 little plants, and I brought it back to Gabon with me. And I planted 3 of them. One survived. It's still going strong. I just waiting for it to bear, but then I hear that it take 5 to 10 years before it will bear its first fruit. But
Well,
it's struggling and it's going.
well, I had one that was taking a while, and a older Jamaican lady said, "You need to talk to the tree and threaten the tree," because I had it there years,
Uh-huh.
probably over 10 years, sitting there, nothing. And I
Wow.
went out like, saying, I didn't believe in the old wives' tale. I went out and threatened the tree with my wife, and within a year, it started to bear.
Really? Wow. Oh
So
boy.
it's funny because Aki originated on the continent, And I
Yes.
hear people talk all the time the challenges of finding Aki. But I'm hoping you will have Aki soon, so you
Yeah,
get
I
that.
really hope so too.
So
I'll try threatening it.
yes, and let me know, if it works.
All right.
So Gabon itself, again, I know it's on the west coast. The beaches, what are the beaches like?
The beaches can't be compared to Jamaica. It's not white sand, blue water, that kind of thing, even black sand. No, you have normal sandy beaches, but the water isn't as pretty then, so to speak, as Jamaican beaches or West Indian beaches,
All right, all right,
So,
fair enough. Now, if I was to visit, and you said, Xavier, if you come, you know, here is the time of the year you should come, or you may say, here is an event that you must go to, or here's a place you must see. I'm not asking all three. You may say, Xavier, come summer and go see this place. You have to go to this place, or you must. What would that be?
okay, well, we have a place called Point Denny, which is in Libreville here, but you have to take a boat to go across there, kind of like a Lime Key type of place. Even the president has his own quarters over there where you're not even allowed to fly over. But they have a place there called Baie de Tortue, which means the Bay of Turtles, where turtles actually live there. And you have wild animals going closer to that side. You can walk on the beach, walk on the sand. They have little villas there and stuff where you can eat, where you can sleep. Quite a nice place to visit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you love to do there in Gabon? If you said, I had this whole weekend, I have a holiday weekend for myself, what's your getaway, or what's the thing? Maybe it's just say I want to curl up with a book. I don't know, but what is it?
Actually, if I have a whole weekend off, I would need probably like a Friday to a Sunday. I would go to the village, my husband's village. It is so peaceful, but it's a 6 hour drive. Usually when we travel in the night. It might, because we have to go to work first and then finish work and then travel. I don't know why he prefers to travel in the night, because that's when you might see elephants crossing the road,
Oh,
right? And elephants are beautiful, but they can be dangerous, you know.
mm,
So you have to park the car and wait until they pass.
mm,
But it is truly interesting. Once we were going to the village and seeing the elephants pass, you saw the mother and you saw the baby elephants, one holding the tail of the baby. The baby's tail was holding on to the trunk of the next baby behind it. Was really nice to see. So that I like, and it's such a peaceful place, that village.
nice,
Angie.
nice. Is there some tradition? I know I spoke about customs, and there are some traditions that you've seen in that village at itself that you say, oh, this is very interesting.
The funerals. Oh, I find it different that
Mm,
when someone dies, days is like a week, where you go and visit the family and whatever, and then the final day before the burial, the night before, well, starting in the day, they bring the body. You know how you'd have is it a wake that they call it in Jamaica,
nine
where
nine
you bring is no the viewing
viewing. Okay.
where you bring the body, but in the house of which he died, and you walk around the coffin and look at the body, you kind of say your last goodbyes and whatever. But then in the night, the women what the women are expected to do is the living room, they empty out all the furniture and the women sleep on the floor. sleep on the floor for the night. No, that is I've done it once, quite a painful experience. Eh?
Mm.
But the women sleep for the night, and then after the body is buried, the next day they do what is called a cleaning of the house. So they use holy water and whatever, I don't know what they use exactly, and they clean the house. They say they're getting rid of the spirit and whatever spirit of the person that they don't come back and visit or whatever. And then they put back the furniture and everybody lives their life as normal again.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. So I gotta ask now, I'm gonna pry a little bit. Your son, him know any patois? How is he on this whole, because he's Gabonese on one side, Jamaican on the other side, and hey, is he identifying with some of the Jamaican side?
He's 4 years old,
Okay.
and he speaks English to me and French to his father, right? And sometimes he thinks I don't understand what he's asking, but he chooses to translate for me, right? Or to me. My husband is trying to teach him his tribal language now. He knows one or two words, he knows how to greet in the tribal language. Patois, he knows a few patois words as well.
All right.
Not much, but he understands very well. He understands patois very well, more than he can speak it.
Good. Well, Peta-Gay, I really appreciate you spending some time with us, telling us your story of how you got to Gabon. Two last things. Scenario: you they land in Jamaica, you get off the plane. What is that first thing you're doing once you exit the airport? Some people it's dip, some people it's coconut water, some people it's patty, some people it's Kentucky, some people it's other things. What's that first thing you want to do?
It was at one stage, it was KFC, but now that I have KFC here, which is not as good as the KFC there in Jamaica.
I was about to say that.
That's good.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy. Jamaica's KFC is the best in the world.
It is. But Antigua's own come close, to be honest. Yes.
Don't make people hear you.
But the thing is, what I would do now, because the other day when I went to Jamaica, I had a patty and a cocoa bread. Oh, it was heavenly. Heavenly cocoa bread. I haven't had that from high school, So I've had patty since high school, but cocoa bread, I was on cloud 9. So that would be the first thing that I would go for now.
All right. Here is the last item, last question. How do you say goodbye in the most informal way? How do the Gabonese say it? And I know you said, it's French. Maybe you know one of the greetings from one of the other languages and so forth. Anything you can give us?
Just au revoir or tout à l'heure.
Tout à l'heure.
Yes, tout à l'heure.
Okay. All right. So it's a French. Now,
yes.
You mentioned a greeting that your husband is teaching your 4-year-old. What is that greeting? Is it a hello or a bye-bye?
It's a hello. Hello.
Okay, but you sound like you're not sure you remember it. So I'm going to leave it alone.
I'm not so what do you call it now? Knowledgeable of the tribal language,
All right. So we will say again, thank you, Peta-Gay. I appreciate you spending some time here. So we will do it the French way, which is au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thanks again.
Thank you too.
Walk good, and we will catch up because I want to hear about that ackee tree when it starts to push out some ackee.
For sure, definitely.
All right. Peta-Gay.
Take care. Bye.
Show us some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.